All right, let's go ahead and get started. These sessions are 20 minutes in length. This is the only session tonight for AP World History. I have one slide, PowerPoint, up on the screen here. Quite frequently people ask, well, how is AP representative of collegiate work? Well, it has a lot of the same traits. In college, you are responsible for a good bit of your own learning. Not as much in an AP class, though they are held responsible for some of their own learning, because we want to, have them experience that trait. The way you're responsible in college for your own learning is through research and through outside and textbook readings. So we try to emulate that in AP as much as possible. Research in college typically takes the form of a research paper. Well, research papers don't really help us get to our goal of passing the national exam. National exam is how you will be credited for college work, but that varies from university to university. Okay? So in the more elite colleges like the Ivy League, they may not give you any college credit for any AP you took. However, without the AP coursework, you're not getting into that school. And if you look at the packet that Ms. Jolly passed to you, and I'm Coach Floyd, and Ms. Jolly and I both teach multiple sections of AP World History. We're both veteran educators. We've been doing it a long time. We're both national readers. We go out and score the essays, so we have a lot of insight. National average for passing the AP test is about 50% internationally, because it is an international test. It's given all over the world. Our success has been around 90%. So, we're beating it, pretty well. But again, it's because of our inside knowledge. And I write questions for this test. I'm actually published on stuff connected to this test. So been doing it a long time. I've been teaching the course since it was invented, which was in 2002. And been teaching world history since I've been teaching, which was since 1984. So, as you look at the packet, the big question that everybody wants to ask is, how hard is the course? That answers about 90% of the questions you're going to have. So let me put it to you in a nutshell. And we did that, if you will look on page 2. Okay, there are 2 things that drive everything in our course. Each semester, we're going to cover 3 time frames. AP takes world history, and they break it 12,000 years of history into 6 time frames. These time frames are chosen by big turning point events. Okay? So we have it fairly balanced. Each semester, we're looking at anywhere from 7 to 6 units to be able to cover those 6 time frames. So every unit starts the same. First thing the kids do is they take a diagnostic on that material. Usually it's 45 to 60 just simple multiple choice questions. Most of it is, simple recall, identify. That's the only time they'll ever see questions of that type. Okay. Memorization and identification are not part of the AP habits of the mind. And you'll see a list of those habits on the last sheet in your packet. And that's straight from AP World. That's straight from College Board. Okay? We teach to their standard. They set the standards. They set the rigor. We are responsible for teaching that rigor so that they have a chance to pass the national exam. Like I say, we've been very successful at it. A 5 is the highest you can get on an AP exam. Worldwide, that's about 5 or 6% of the kids that take. It's only that many. For us, it's like It has been as high as 38%. Okay, and where we win it is on the writing side of it. Because the AP National Exam, 60% of it is writing. Only 40% of it is multiple choice. But the multiple choice questions are not simple recall, memorization, nor identification. You have to have a conversation with yourself and then pick the appropriate answer. And there is a sample of one of those on that last sheet. Also, there are sample short answers and sample essay questions. So you get a sense of what I'm talking about. So what we have to teach our kids is you have to be able to have a conversation about a topic. So I'm not going to ask you how many crusades there were. I'm not going to ask you where the crusades went. I'm going to ask you, start talking now, give me the impacts of the crusades. And that should be a fairly complex conversation. It's going to take several minutes. If you can do that, then you're going to have success on anything that I give you regarding that topic. So if you look at, so they're going to take a diagnostic. Again, big thing about study strategies, and that's one of the other things I'll learn in the course, collegiate study habits. Okay? Too many of our students have not taken a class of rigor. They have had instructors who, here's what I say, and then they give a test, and it's exactly as I said it. And all you do is just give it back to me. And that's not college. And that's not AP. Okay? So, that's where we quite frequently hear from parents, well, Johnny's always gotten A's in social studies. Well, that's wonderful. How many rigorous classes in social studies did Johnny take? Because in this class, if you're an A, you're all that. So A's mean something in here. Okay? And the average tends to be about an 87 first semester, goes up second semester. Okay? Tends to be in the low 90s. And that's raw. That's without the 7 points. So kids do well. Now, we do have some kids that struggle. And that's why you're here tonight. I'm not selling AP World. At Alpharetta High School, I don't have to. About 40% of the kids in the sophomore class are going to be taking AP World. The question is, will your child be among them? And that's a decision you got to make. That's a decision your child has to make. So, okay, so how hard is it? So the first thing we do is we take a diagnostic. Based off that diagnostic, we're going to make choices in our work. So the areas that we did not do well in, that's what we wanted to use to drive our choices of what additional research we're going to do. Okay. The first thing you see there is a note-taking template. That template's divided up into 4 critical thinking skills. Every assessment question they will be asked on the national test and in the course are based off those 4 skills. So every short answer question, every essay question, every multiple choice question. Those are the standards. So what we do is, I'm a nice guy, I go through there, and there are a lot of standards. There's 5 different categories, and there are anywhere from 12 to 15 objectives within that category. I pull out the ones appropriate to those chapters, so they don't have to do that. All they have to do is answer those questions using what we call evidentiary information. So we need depth, we need detail. And typically I tell them 4 to 6 well-written, synthesized bullet points around that topic will typically be that standard. To do this type of work, it's about 2 hours. But that's the only homework they have in the course. So it's about 30 minutes a night. What I tell them, chunk it out 30 minutes a night. Now, some students, they like to do the stuff on the weekend. Okay? I don't care when they do it. Okay? It's just if you email me saying, Johnny's spending 5 hours a night on AP World, I'm going to call shenanigans. Particularly if Johnny's not doing that well in the course. One, it doesn't take that much work. Okay? Johnny's in there killing zombies or playing Halo. Okay? And And every time you come in, he just hits his button. Oh, there's AP World. Okay? So, no. So there's only one homework assignment because our course is not the only rigorous course, particularly in sophomore year, that they're taking. A lot of them are taking honors. A lot of them are involved in extracurricular, to a person, most of our students are involved in extracurricular activities. So they got to learn to organize and manage their time. So we spend a lot of time talking about that. But the course is also set up so that they can do that. Because they know on day one when everything's happening, what's happening, and when it's due. And that's the second sheet. That's the contract. That basically is the bulk of what their grade is. That's 80% of their grade. 4 different categories. The last 20% is the final exam, which is comprehensive for that semester. So, you see the notes, you see the note-taking rubric, you see suggested due dates. Now, they might be late. I suggest they be early. Again, we're trying to get them into good habits. Our biggest, the people who struggle with us the most, they don't do the work. They're always late. It's never complete. And we're talking about a small group of people, okay? The vast overwhelming majority of our students are doing it and doing it well, once they understand it. But so those are the people that struggle in there, okay? They're responsible. They are held accountable, more so at a level maybe than they have been before. They get constant feedback. So in these activities that you see, they're not doing all of them. They're picking the ones based off their diagnostic. They're given time in class, certain days to do this. These is our research or rotational, what we call rotational work days. The other days we're doing whole group instruction. So I may be lecturing, we may be doing writing clinics, we may be doing a project of some type, small group, large group. So, it varies, depending upon the unit, depending upon the day. But they all know where they're going to wind up, and they know it ahead of time. So that's the first thing we do, is we go through the contract. Hey, here's what the expectation is. Here's everything that's coming at you. Do you understand? Yes, sign it. Okay, and I keep a copy. And if we ever come in and sit down and have a parent conference, it's the first thing you're going to see me pull out is those contracts. So here's what they were supposed to be doing. Here's what they did. Okay? Guys, this is not a regular world history class. Okay? They're held accountable. And they're held accountable at rigor. Because if we don't, we will not have the success rate that we do on the actual exam. And really, that's why you take this course. If you're taking this course for any other reason, you made a bad choice. I mean, what would be the purpose? Yeah.
I think the biggest shift that I see every year with my students is that they've been going through school. They're very smart kids, and they've always done very well, and they always did their work in class. But they get to the AP World History class, it's a different kind of work. It's not simply filling in the blanks on a worksheet or defining terms. It's going to be more reading a lot of material, absorbing that, and then applying it somehow. So we might ask them, I think the example I put in here was about, you might read about the Roman Empire in world history, on the world history, and then you might read about the Han Dynasty. But in AP World History, we're going to ask you to then tell me what are the similarities and differences, and do that in a 5-paragraph essay. That's a little different from just having to answer some questions about who was ruling or what particular law was passed. So it has a different level. So those kids who've gotten used to sort of just being able to fill in the blanks and doing it because they're smart and they get it to their ears, they don't do as well when they have to really start applying all those skills they learned. And some of them start to get it, pick it up, and usually by Thanksgiving we see those guys. And then there's some who are just continuing to try to do what they've always done, which is wait until the last minute, just do a quick read through the textbook and then pass the test. And it doesn't work as well. We spent a lot of that first semester trying to develop those skills of being able to apply the information that they've learned. And it's a lot of information. It is a lot.
And building off that point, again, a lot of our students, by no necessary fault of their own, they've become very good at identifying, because they've been given multiple choice tests since they were in kindergarten. The problem is, our multiple choice questions are not that low cognitive question. They're an application, high cognitive, evaluate, synthesize, analyze question, because the national exam looks that way. And because I write for the national exam, our tests look like the national exam. So that by the time our kids go into the national exam, they're not afraid of it. They're actually pretty much smiling the whole time they're doing it, because they're looking at it going like, man, this is not nowhere near as hard as some of the stuff we've been doing. Yeah, that was the point. So, I want to over-prepare you so that when you do walk in, you're going to have high confidence on the national exam. Because it's a high-stakes test. And for some of these kids, it's their first high-stakes test. PSAT is not necessarily a high-stakes test, okay? Not until really junior year. Most kids haven't taken the SAT or the ACT yet. And those tests are also made by the same guys that make the AP tests. So, it's very similar. So by taking AP coursework, it does help their SAT scores. It does help their scores in other high-stakes tests. But if you look on the front, I've got a stat down here about Georgia and Georgia Tech. That's a real stat. You can look it up. I've had people doubt it before. All you have to do, guys, what's the college your child wants to go to? Type in incoming freshman class average number of APs 2016 or 2015. And somebody probably wrote an article about it. For select schools, meaning state universities, big state universities, is 6 to 7. For elite schools, it can be as many as 9 to 11. And that's also counting dual enrollment, so AP/dual enrollment. Because colleges don't trust GPAs, okay? Because a GPA here is different than a GPA maybe in rural South Georgia. But here's what's not different. AP classes, you have to get the course approved. Like I had to go through about a 40-hour writing process to get our course approved when they went to that, which was several years ago. Because what they had is kids saying they were, quote, in AP, but they weren't. They were just in some honors level or whatever you wanted to call it, and they were calling it AP. But yet they were going to the national exam and they were getting crushed. So AP did something about it. So now colleges trust when they see AP on a transcript that it is a course of a certain rigor. And so now more colleges give credit for the AP test. And AP is now, rigor is used more to determine whether or not you can handle the skill than GPA. So if I see a student who might, have gotten some B's in some AP classes, that's better than them taking a regular class and getting an A in it to the colleges, because they have stats. And I put some of those stats, in that packet. You really need to read through the packet, because the packet has a lot of information. But there's one thing on that packet. If you're having questions, I want you to look at the first page and look at the bottom. Characteristics of a successful student. And I want you to look at number 1. And number 1 is the big teller. If you describe your child as that, they'll be fine. If you have doubts about that, you might want to think about it.